over the rainbow with dreams of better than life. There's nobody to save. I sit alone with my head through the sky. Yes, I'm wondering, never asking why. I just see inside, see inside.
Hello, and welcome to the Mechanics of the Maya and to Inner Authority. And today we're going to look at the most common of all inner authorities, and that is the SolarPlexus system. Just about half of all humanity, just over half, about 51% of all humanity, have a defined SolarPlexus center. And the reality is that that defined SolarPlexus center amongst the majority of human beings truly establishes the plane that we live on as an emotional plane. The thing about the emotional center is that the moment that you see the emotional center colored in, it tells you right away that this is going to be the authority in the life, and it tells you something else. It tells you something rather remarkable, that the most powerful authority that we have is useless in the now. Absolutely, completely useless in the now. It says something so interesting about the majority of human beings, the way in which truth emerges in their life. That their truth, their relative truth, is something that needs to emerge over time. Over time. So let's begin with looking at the nature of the SolarPlexus system to begin with. The moment that we're looking at the SolarPlexus, what we're looking at is the wave motor function that dominates humanity. And in that wave motor function, what we get to see about the nature of the SolarPlexus is that it goes like this. You know? It rises and falls endlessly, from hope to pain and back again. It is the nature of the motor wave. It is the very nature of this wave that distorts the possibility to see clearly in the moment. Remember that for the being that has SolarPlexus definition, there is no truth in the now. And there's no truth in the now because the reality of where an emotional being is, their reality is in the moment, in the wave. And they can be anywhere. It is the whole thing about having emotional power define your life. Is that when you're down in that wave and you're feeling awful, you know, the dark side of life is there. Everything that you see looks like that. And it doesn't matter if you're looking at your lover, your friend, your dog, you know, it doesn't, you can look at yourself in the mirror and have the same feeling. When you're down there in the deep reaches of the SolarPlexus wave, the only thing that you get to see is the negativity that is there. That's all, nothing else. And so many human beings that are emotional because they are not self, because they are homogenized, in that moment when they're down in their wave and everything is dark, anything that comes their way, anything that they deal with, they are going to deal with relative to that position in the wave. I don't like it, they'll say. I don't want it, they'll say. Yet in fact, it may be the most important things that are possibly there for them in their life. And yet they cannot see them, will not deal with them, because they're locked in that place in the wave. You see, emotional authority is a beautiful thing, but it isn't available in the now. It isn't. Wherever you are in your wave, in the moment that anything moves towards you, you cannot make a decision. And the most interesting thing about emotional authority is that emotional authority crosses all kinds of boundaries. You can have emotional inner authority as a manifester, as a generator, as a manifesting generator, as a projector. They can all be emotional. 51% of humanity. And each and every one of those beings relative to their strategy are going to have to operate within the confines and the conditions of emotional awareness. And emotional awareness is about one thing and one thing only. It's about time. What did St. Augustine say? He said, the only reward for patience is patience. You know, if you're an emotional being, the only thing that you've got on your side is your ability to wait, to be patient, to live in your own time. I think this is the most difficult thing for emotional beings. So many emotional beings have an open spleen. It's quite common to see that. And of course, that open spleen is always leading somebody to want to be spontaneous, want to be there in the now, want to get things now. You know, the emotional being is always after instant gratification. I want it now, I want it now. You know, and because they are emotional, because all of that power is sitting in them, they drive themselves in those moments. It's mine now. It tends to be a real disaster. The other thing is, if you're an emotional person and you have a defined SolarPlexus center, it's not just simply that this is your inner authority. This is how you present yourself to the world around you. Think about it. I'm somebody who is unemotional. I have an undefined SolarPlexus center. 51% of the human beings that I meet in this life are going to be emotional. And it is their emotional wave that defines them in any given moment more than anything else about their nature. Because you see, an emotional being puts out a wave. They don't just live in a wave. You know, so often the analysis is pointed towards the fact that, you know, they have no truth in them now because they're living inside of this wave. But everybody around them is taking in their relative wave energy. Very easy for me to recognize when an emotional being is down or up, because immediately their wave is present. I can feel it, I can take it in and recognize it right away. It makes emotional beings deeply, deeply recognizable. It's not the same thing for somebody that has splenic authority that you automatically know they have splenic authority, you know? But an emotional being, if you're not emotional, you can tell them, well, at least an orc distance away. So it's something to understand about being someone who carries a defined emotional system. It's not just a matter that this is your private trip. You know, you're dealing with your wave. It's about understanding this is something you put out. Not only do you put it out, but it defines the environment that everybody else has to deal with, that everybody else has to live in. You have to live inside of your wave. You see, we have an emotional world. And because we have an emotional world, most of which is really unhealthy, because the 49% of humanity who do not have a defined emotional system are amplifying the emotional wave of the majority. That means we've got a distorted emotional world that we live in. It's unhealthy for us. And it says something so profound about what modern humanity seems to want most of all. It seems to want everything in the moment and everything in a hurry. You know, I remember when I first began introducing human design, I was rather concerned about telling people that it would take 7 years to decondition, because it was so obvious that everybody wanted to be enlightened yesterday. You know, they didn't want to wait. Nobody wants to wait. I don't want to wait. You know, give me a quick fix. Give it to me right now. And of course, this is not what awareness is about. Awareness does not emerge in a moment. It doesn't. It's something that matures with the correctness of a being. You see, to be an emotional person is something that is deeply special. I mean, I see that from my own unique perspective of not being emotional. I understand what is so profound about the emotional being. It is their wave that makes them different. See, the wave collects experience. I mean, it is an experience definer. It is a dissecting knife. It is the thing that breaks everything up into its bits and pieces. Only an emotional being sees with depth. You know, if you look at all the other authorities, only emotional authority has depth. No other authority has depth. It's the only one. You know, it's so interesting when you look at the way in which the program is constituted and you look at the way in which our vehicles are designed. You know, the right hand giveth and the left hand taketh away. The large print giveth, the small print taketh away. You take a look at an emotional being. An emotional being that's homogenized and not correct is really a deep pain in the neck for anybody around them, let alone what they are for themselves. And so many of them are so superficial. because they never get a chance to develop the profundity that is there in their system, because they're always, give it to me now. So the moment they're down in their wave, they blow it out at anybody around them. The moment they're up on their wave, they go charging around like an idiot. Never get the benefit of who they really are. You see, this is an authority that is rooted in profundity, time. It's rooted in the test of time. It's rooted in a magical thing, a thing that is never absolute. It's called clarity. See, if you're an emotional being, you have emotional authority. You can never have 100% of anything. Ever. Not the way it works. It isn't. You can never be 100% sure of everything. You can't. You know, you've got a decision in front of you. You're lucky if you can be 75 or 80% sure. Because what it is to be an emotional being, because you go through the whole spectrum of phenomena, you carry everything with you in regards or relative to anything. It means that even though you know that it's really going to be okay, there's also a part of you that knows could go bad, because you're an emotional being. Because you carry with you the magic. Truly, it is magic to be able to take your time. Take your time. This is the whole thing for an emotional being. You know, and it's the false pressure of life that distorts emotionality. You know, this false pressure in life that says everything's got to be now, 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 quick, quick, get it while you can. If you don't get it now, you're going to miss it. It's not true. It's all just anti-emotional propaganda. Slow down. It's about decision-making in the end. Everything about human design is about decision-making. Looking at inner authority is understanding what inside of you controls the most important aspect of your life. How you make a decision. The majority of human beings have to make a decision emotionally, which means they have to wait. There isn't anything else. And the assumption is that that waiting is some kind of punishment, you know? Why do I have to wait? You know, I don't want to wait, and so forth. Not only that, but while I'm waiting, I have to see the ugly as well as the beautiful. I have to go through all that heavy stuff as well. And it never stays still, does it? I mean, you're an emotional being watching this. You know, it never stays still. The moment you get to that point of clarity doesn't mean that everything stops. The wave keeps moving. 10 minutes after you make the decision, you may actually be in a funk that you actually made the decision, even though you waited days for clarity to make it, because the wave changes. You see, to be an emotional being is to honor yourself, to trust yourself, to trust that everything for you is time. And in that waiting comes the richness of life. You know, all these human beings that are in a hurry, they're not you. They're all in a hurry to wait anyway. You know, they never get to experience what is possible, what an emotional being gets to experience in every single phenomena, every single detail of their life. You know, I look at that from my perspective. I am a splenic manifester. I am unemotional. I'm non-sacral. I look at emotional beings and I think, wow, that's amazing. How deep they can go into anything. Not me. Over. You know, my inner authority is an instantaneous snapshot. It may be accurate because it's my nature, but it doesn't serve me in the sense of providing me with any kind of real depth. It just says turn left or turn right. But you see, an emotional being, they get to see why there is a potential to go this way or that way. They get to feel deep within them all of the ramifications of that going up and down through their movement. They get to assess it. They get to investigate it. They get to go through all of this. As a matter of fact, they don't have to leave the sanctity of their own experiencing mode. If you know what I mean, they can just sort of sit there and take in all the possibilities. But see, the moment they're under pressure, the moment they feel like when they see the dark end that all is lost, or the moment they get on the up end, they think that everything that they can do is perfect. You see, to be an emotional being, to have inner authority, emotional inner authority, you're here to be wise. You're here to be patient. You're here to be profound. You're here to take in experience at its deepest possible level. And that means that whatever you go through will bring you pain. What to do? It is what it is to be an emotional being. You go through the dark side, you go through the light side. You also get the joy. You also get the hope. You also get this burning delight. But it also means that pain is part of wisdom. It's part of your depth. It doesn't matter what comes your way. If you can't see the dark side, if you can't feel the pain of it, you can never know the other side, can you? I mean, what is, pleasure without pain? Does it exist? Only an emotional being carries this. And if it weren't for the emotional beings carrying this movement between, this pain and this pleasure, the rest of us, we would never have anything exciting in this life. I mean, it is the emotional system that makes humanity work. Look at the human experiential way. 41st gate, 30th gate, 36th gate, 35th gate. The whole human experience goes through the emotional system. As a matter of fact, goes through the desire mechanism of the emotional system. Our life wouldn't exist if it was not placed within the emotional frame. This is the whole grandeur of life. The rise and fall of civilizations, the up and the down, all of this is emotional. See, there is such depth there. See, in the end, in order to be able to operate correctly in this life, you have to have courage. You do. You have to have the courage to accept that for you, the decision-making process is one that takes you through all of these things. That you need time to be clear, that time is your ally, that it enriches you. That not only that, that by the time you get to any point of clarity, whether it's a yes or a no as a decision, you have so much information about that. Feeling information. The powerful SolarPlexus insight into the nature of any phenomena. It is deep and it is rich. And no emotional being who is correct ever makes a stupid, blind decision. They don't. They make the most informed decisions of any being when they're correct. I don't make informed decisions. I'm splenic. I can't. I don't even understand why I'm making a decision because I'm splenic. How different that is from what it is to be an emotional being, in which every single decision has to come with all this profound detail so that you have it all. See, when I look at the inner authority of the emotional being, I see an inner authority that provides a richness, a profundity, and yet I look out in the world around, in the homogenized world where the emotional system is so distorted. The vast majority of humanity operates emotionally, whether they're emotional or not. None of them are waiting. I mean, none of them are waiting. In a second, you have flashpoints. In a second, all of that decorum disappears. And you see truth. We are dealing with a time in which the emotional system is under the most profound pressure it's ever been under. We have a mutation that's taking place within the SolarPlexus system. We have a mutation that ultimately is going to impact the nature of the SolarPlexus wave. The SolarPlexus is our future. It's not our past. It's our future. SolarPlexus awareness, the incredible neural activity that has been discovered in the SolarPlexus system, this is the awareness that is going to enrich our future. It lies underneath this wave. And you see, those of you that are emotional, if you wait, if you trust in waiting, just time. Give yourself time. Set your formulas. You know, big decisions, I need a week. Small decisions, I need 24 hours. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. Give yourself time for anything, even if it seems trivial. Because after all, you're here to be deep. You're not here to judge things superficially. You're not here to be on the surface. You're here to take everything in and everything through your process. And in taking it in, then being able to see clearly for yourself what is correct for you. It's a feeling that arises over time. It's not intellectual. I'm not talking about your mind. See, if we're going to make any difference in the world around us, emotional generators, who are one of the most powerful forces on the planet, emotional generators, emotional manifesting generators, that these are the beings that really can make a difference in the world. Think about an emotional generator with an enveloping aura. Their emotional wave taking in everyone around them, filling everyone up with their emotional dysfunction, determining the feeling environment of the world around them. See, those of us who are non-sacral and non-emotional are very aware of the fact that the world is being dominated by emotional generators, enveloping everybody with the dysfunction of the wave so instantaneously. Huge numbers of beings can suddenly go down, drag down. How easy it is, how sad it is. And yet at the same time, on the other side, how incredibly beautiful it is. I mean, when I first found out about my design, and I realized how much I had suffered at the hands of emotionality, being unemotional, my first reaction was one of deep distaste. You know, I made a joke in the early years of teaching that I could have had my own final solution, you know, get rid of all the emotional beings. You know, life would be really cool. Yeah, it would be cool, but it wouldn't be sexy and there wouldn't be any pleasure. There would be an awful lot of things that would be missing. It was only when I began to understand myself that I began to see the beauty of the emotional system, its potential, its power, its magic. All the emotional beings that I've worked with over the years, particularly those that have, you know, stayed a long time in this process, worked hard in this process, the transformation of their frequency is really extraordinary. The difference between a dysfunctional emotional being and one that is correct, it is so far apart, it's hard to imagine that they're the same kind of being. You see, the easiest way to exaltation is through awareness. And to be an emotional being and to be aware is really a natural coupling, a natural one. Just remember, it is your authority. It's the most important thing for you in your life, is to appreciate, respect, admire, love being emotional, because that is your truth. And all you need in order to be able to succeed in this life as an emotional being is time. Time. You're not going to miss anything. You don't have to be in a hurry. And whatever life is going to bring to you is going to have to wait for you, not the other way around. To be an emotional being is to live in your own frequency, to live in your own time frame. It has nothing to do with anybody else or any other way of processing things. It is, in the end, about what you feel, what you emote. It is about the pure essence of your emotional system. And you see, when you get to the point that you can just simply ride your wave, not fight it, not feel bad about it, not get lost in it, just ride it, like Buddha on a surfboard, ride your wave. And the moment you can just sit on it and you can ride it, you'll see its glory. It's all for you. The depth is for you. The depth is what is transforming in your life. You are here, after all, to make decisions based on real research, deep research. And in the end, those are the decisions that are going to be transforming in your life. Strategy, inner authority, whether you're that manifester, you're a generator or a projector that's emotional, that combination of your strategy and this inner authority to wait, to ride the wave, to ride the wave, to be patient. In the end, it brings you a depth that is truly extraordinary, not simply for you, but for the other. And an emotional being that knows how to wait, that knows how to ride the wave, does not pollute other human beings with their wave. They don't. They don't create those situations in which you have emotional distortion. Because after all, for every emotional being, there's an unemotional being that will overreact to their distortion. Yeah, I have long ago realized that the emotional being is so extraordinary. And to see it suffering in the world, like everything else having to do with the homogenized world, it is really very sad. Because emotionality has truly been given a very, very bad name, a rather terrible reputation because of the way in which the homogenized emotional being works. If you're an emotional being, it's time for you to learn to love being an emotional being, to love the wave. Not to resent it, not to feel bad when suddenly it goes down, and, all of that stuff. It's to embrace it. It is you. It's your perfection. You embrace the wave. You embrace time. You find your way. That's what matters. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, bye for now.
I can do nothing but wait. I sit alone with my head through the sky. Yes, I'm wondering, never asking why. I just see inside.